Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our workshop session is 5:30 p.m., Monday, October the 28th, 2024. We will call this workshop session to order. First order up for discussion is discussion regarding increasing capital contribution to the Central Texas Water Supply Corporation as defined in the 2006 wholesale contract.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a follow-up to Mr. Kelly's comments at our last meeting regarding seeking support for a contribution above the current contractual amount of a little over 10 cents per thousand gallons. It's not 10,000 gallons, excuse me, it's 1,000 gallons. Mr. Kelly's discussion included reference to contractual increases that have lagged well behind CPI and inflation, as well as the need to fund critical infrastructure at the Lake Cliff plant. Staff does not disagree, however, it does come at a cost. And I think if there is a cost, the one thing that I would suggest you do is do you have an offset? And right now I would say, based on going through this in our budget process, I would encourage you, if you did want to do this, that we would go back and look again at rates. If that's not something that's palatable to council, then I think that that is your answer. But based on FY22, we used 22 over 23 because 23 was a period of conservation drought. 564 million gallons. 10-cent increase on that would be about $56,000 per year. I would suggest if you did want to continue discussion on the matter, we would either have to decide about how this agreement would come into being, or, I guess the bottom line question is, do you want to talk about it anymore? The 2006 contract does call for, it did start out at 8 cents per thousand. The language is consistent between the Kempner Central Texas contract and the city Kempner contract, it would be a 6% increase every 36 months. The other thing is that I think some important contract language to look at is that it does include the Kempner Water Supply has a commitment to enforce the provisions with respect to capital investment account and to in the Central Texas wholesale contract, specifically including Central Texas agreement to keep facilities in good condition and deliver contractual quantities to the point of delivery. Again, the question, I think, the bottom line question is, do you want to talk about this anymore? Mr. Kelly is here and might share a couple of comments, if that's all right, Mayor.
Yeah, that's good. One question, is this the first time that Central Texas Water's come to the city for an increase?
Since 2006. This is not the first time we've talked about it. We did talk about it previously, but because it is tied to the Kempner contract and Kempner was unwilling to take any action on it, it basically died at that time. It's not the first time we've talked about it. I think it came to light particularly starting last October and this May, when some critical repairs needed to be made at the Lake Cliff plant.
So 19 years into it.
Yes, sir. So so if maybe in a different world you would say, okay, our increase in capital contribution is tied to the CPI index for whatever bag of groceries you want to use, and that might have been a different way to put it, but it just simply is a 6% every 3 years.
Okay. Currently, we're paying 6 cents per thousand, and they want to increase it to 10 cents per thousand?
No. It's currently we're paying a little over 10 cents. It's 10.7058 cents per thousand gallons. And if you increase that by 10 cents, basically doubling it, 10 cents on the amount of water we use in 2022 is about $56,000.
I mean, this couldn't be a worse time to ask for this request with the water issues that we have. And I'm not trying to be mean or anything. It's just what a bad
this
time.
is a follow-up to Mr. Kelly's comments, and I might, Mayor, if it'd be all right, I might have Lee make a few comments.
Thank you for allowing me on the workshop of agenda. This is, I know our contract, our Kempner's contract doesn't discuss these types of things, but right now, Central Texas is behind about $1.5 million. We're set to borrow $1.5 million from CoBank to get capital improvements done. Of course, we had a severe problem with our intake due to kind of a flash flood in the middle of a drought and things like that. So it's been a really tough year on us too. But I'd ask that you, if you'd like for me to come back, ask that you would look at this, just keep our water flowing, basically. Times are tough over there. But this is a agreement, the schedule goes out, it went out for 84 years when we signed the contract. And it is, every 3 years it goes up 6%. And what we're asking is to take that 10.07 or 7058 cents and double it. And then that would be 23 cents starting here in October 24 to October 27. And then it would go to 25 cents in 27 to 30. And the schedule follows that. It just follows the original schedule that went with the contract and doubles the amount in the first month.
And it follows the original schedule except for doubling right now, right?
Sir?
It says it follows the original schedule except you're asking to double right now.
Yes. Inflation has outrun the method we use to calculate this capital improvement attachment. It's attachment B in the Kempner contract. And inflation has just outrun it, and we're just behind.
Have y'all talked to Kempner yet? Like, because what Finley said a second ago, and I think I remember when it happened, because y'all had approached us in Kempner and it died at Kempner. Have y'all talked to Kempner yet?
Yes.
And?
They said no, but it would take an amendment to the Kempner Lampasas contract. They say they don't get any water out of our plant now, so that cost would pass on. They'd want that cost to pass on to Lampasas.
And then that opens up that opens up that contract again between us and Kempner. I mean, I know you can put language in there to avoid.
Yeah, I
Some
think
things.
that is something that certainly is of concern. It was of concern when we did the emergency water contract with Kempner. And correct, we don't want anything to undermine the 2006 wholesale contract.
Yeah, there's nothing in your contract to say you'll do anything like this. We're just asking, to keep the plant up and running. And we have a very high-level need here. So we're just asking for that. Maybe possibly y'all could amend your contract with Kempner to pay that rate increase.
Are, you keep mentioning keeping the plant up and running. Are you telling us that we might not get water?
No, we'll do everything in our power to keep water flowing. That's, not the way we work, but it certainly helps when we...
I just want to be clear and make sure that we understand, you're not saying, oh, if we don't do this, you're not going to be getting water.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, we'll do everything in our power. Things that have happened to us, say, for instance, one of our big pumps, it cost $106,000 this last time. We used to pull them out, have them rebuilt, and it cost $35,000. We've had that kind of inflation on the pump side of things, wire, copper, cast iron, things like that, water supplies, and this capital policy just did not, it never foresaw that, and it just did not keep up with the inflation that we've had.
What did you say you were going to get the $1.5 million loan for? What's
To
that for?
replace the media and water plants, finish fixing some raw water pumps and high service pumps. One thing that's happened to us too is that, they took the lead and copper out of the casting on pumps. A pump that used to last 20 years lasts about 5, 7 years now. So that's one of the things we're running into, but we've got some pump replacements. I've got a list. I can send that to Mr. Finley and get that to y'all.
You know, I think one of the things that might be helpful, and I think we talked a little bit about this, is maybe to schedule a visit to the plant so that we understand, you know, kind of what you're up against and get our eyes on it with your expertise on that. I think it'd be fruitful for the council to at least see that, if you guys are in agreement with that.
That'd be nice. We can actually look and talk about what we're trying to talk about tonight, and you can visualize it.
'Cause this is no doubt, water is our number one issue that we have here in Lampasas, and we need to make sure that we do our due diligence on everything that we do to keep it rolling in.
Well, I certainly thank y'all. Appreciate y'all for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.
And one of the things that you had said, real quick, is you said that part of the problem was having to make the repairs from the flash floods. Didn't y'all have insurance for that kind of stuff to help pay for the
We
repairs?
did, but that didn't cover all of it. And then, it's probably the wrong place to bring it up, but Kemner has not paid $250,000, their part of that this year, so we're just short all around. But,
So Kempner's shorting you guys right now.
yes.
They're
What they
trying to
did-
pass on some of those costs to us too.
Different costs, but similar tactic. I think the difference is they want to classify some of these things that are high dollar O&M, but still O&M, even though they've got a big price tag on them. They're saying, no, that's capital, and so there's, and it's just like what I'd sit down and do when I get the Kempner bill, is I have to go through item by item to make sure that we apply it correctly to the contract. And if it's not within the contractually allowed, we omit it. So I think they're playing that game both ways.
Do you foresee some kind of litigation coming up with Kempner with y'all down the road?
Oh, we'd like to, but we don't have the money. You know, we'd rather spend it on infrastructure than
Gotcha.
an attorney again.
Gotcha.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Thank y'all very much.
Just one thing, Mayor. We've brought this up before. We just asked our citizens a higher increase on the water rates. I guess until we have a chance to look at it and see what we're talking about, we don't need to keep bringing this up in a workshop, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Not sure where Jody's going.
Next item up, discussion regarding possible cost share of ADA sidewalks and alley approach at 410 East 3rd Street.
Mayor and Council, Mr. Tommy met with me a couple of weeks ago and talked about possible improvements to right-of-way in front of the property he's renovating in between Western and Live Oak on East 3rd Street. The improvements would generally include rehab or demo of current section of sidewalk and pouring new sidewalk that is ADA compliant, as well as tie into the alley approach, including the alley approach, so that you would have an ADA access generally from Western to Live Oak. It would be corner access, but once you got on that platform, it would be the proper slopes. He had talked previously with Ryan about that. Ryan had mentioned it to me, and I said, my gosh, we've talked about making that next step from our 3rd Street project to, and this is certainly not as complicated as we envisioned in terms of access, but it does meet some of the goals that we had previously. We did also cut a line there in the alley that his proposal would also address. The current project is estimated at 22.9, and we had discussed a possible 50-50 cost share on that. Dean is in the audience and is willing to step up, and I believe that we do have some, actually it's been a stamp drawing, but I'll defer to Dean if that's all right, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for entertaining this, but I guess, I don't know if y'all drove by, you saw we've already started, so we committed to do this because of the accessibility of our facility. Needs this to be done in order for it to be accessible. In fact, the lady fell there last week going by that, so we thought our contractor had a chance, so we went ahead and started on it. Didn't want to miss that opportunity to get him in and get it going. So any consideration received would be greatly appreciated. And I will mention that it's all city right away. I do believe my property line stops at the building line. So
I'd say Finley on this, EDC, do they have funds to help out? Has that been approached? Because I thought they had specific funds to help out builders.
I haven't approached the EDC.
Okay.
There was an EDC grant that we applied for and were approved for that pays for 20,000 of the fire sprinkler system that we put in.
Okay.
But the sprinkler system was, I think, by the time we put the fire riser and everything, we're in excess of 60
Okay.
for the sprinkler system. So
I just know I thought they had a program for this, but since if they've already exhausted that.
It's mostly life safety, which,
Okay.
yeah, that was the maximum.
Okay.
What is it gonna look like? So you own up to the Saloon 37 building?
No, Mary-
Alley to,
Mary Ann is between us, Trims is between us. So you have the saloon, then Trims, and then our building right there.
and then, correct me if I'm right, ADA access on this side of the, on Western, and the third, there's ADA access to the sidewalk there, right?
There is,
So
correct.
So you're talking about an alleyway of your building?
The alleyway of our building, the alleyway in our building, so it was really a weird setup the way that was all in there. You saw it as well, but it was kind of sloped weird. It didn't have the landing that was required coming out of the door. So we're addressing that. We've got a landing coming out of the door. We'll have to ramp back down to meet the sidewalk in front of Trims, and then we'll have to ramp down, and then the alley all had to be reported in order to make it an ADA accessible path all the way across that alley. So you have a path that's no greater than 5% slope and no greater than 2% cross slope across the alley. And then there's one.
ADA access pretty much all the way from Live Oak over to Western.
That should cure everything. The only thing I think might be an issue is where those handrails kind of enter into that sidewalk in front of the saloon. And we didn't address that, but all that's pretty shallow. It really got kind of crazy when it got down in front of our building.
You said it's gonna slope down to Trims so that it's gonna kind of go up like this?
Can I show you in here? Can I approach it? So let's see, here's basically Trims. This is the door to her upstairs apartment. This is the door to my upstairs apartment. So we come over just a little bit, we match grade here. So it slopes down from our landing back and matches grade here. So you've got this basically flat landing. We're adding a step down here on this lower level, and then we slope at maximum, maybe they slope right here. So this is really tricky because it just barely works. And then it transitions to 2% slope down. And you've got this piece in the alley that's actually 2% cross slope this way, 5 to here. And we have to go back into this sidewalk in front of Mercantile's building in order to maintain the drain because they have a downspout on the roof drain comes down here. So we're catching that water, which is the reason why we have that break right there. You bet.
I think one of the things in our CIP was to get the whole downtown ADA compliant and everything, so I think this fits.
And this is, I think you're asking on 50-50 cost share, that would be $11,450 is that bottom line, I think.
Yes, sir.
I agree. I think it'd be money well spent.
I think so.
Yeah, I'll be good with it.
other questions? Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick. Discussion regarding additional findings related to the Second Street project and consideration of an estimate related to the installment of 42-inch culvert.
Mayor and council, when we found the stone stack culvert, approximately 4 by 6 feet, I picked up the phone and called you, I believe, the day that happened. I appreciate those of you who came out and took a look at it. The original estimate was based on an 18-inch RCP coming from an inlet that's about 45 feet, 30 to 45 feet to the west, which was the assumed failure. This is certainly a much greater magnitude by construction as well as the size. We have received an estimate for replacement of that, basically going to a 42-inch culvert. And I think, just a couple of things I want to address to council. One is we don't ever like surprises, and I know you don't like surprises. This is an item that we would have to repair. I'd rather repair it sooner rather than later. We've already seen where a lot of that mortar, if it was mortared, has degraded and would exist. The question was what was it actually draining? We know that a lot of that went over to 4th Street. Derek went ahead and did the calculations based on what he assumed was taken to 4th Street, as well as what the anecdotal information was in terms of backup at those other inlets that we have on 2nd Street. I think the other thing that I would want to point out, and I'm not being dismissive, but we budget, sometimes we budget a little more than we need for things like this. And not that we have more than we need. We certainly could have used street paving dollars on other projects, but if you look over at page 18, we can still actually get this project done within that budgeted account. And that was due, we don't have anything left over, but certainly within that account. The other thing I'd point out is we still have, I believe, $100,000 in maintenance funds, $50,000 in drainage funds. We will not lack stuff to do and money to pay for. I think it's a reasonably robust chip seal program. I think the other thing that, not necessarily an advantage, but is some reassurances that these prices, by and large, with the exception of 2 or 3 items, are all going to be based on the per unit cost of the original bid. So it's not like people are going to jack up the price or we've got you in a tough spot. The RCP, Derek did point out as being a little expensive, overpriced, but he also noted in his email that does include the flowable fill and the other items in terms of the installation. With that, later this evening, you'll be asked to consider a change in the total amount. So we approved $100,000 last time for that 18-inch RCP. The new total now is to be $160,000 increase. So $160,000, about a $60,000 increase. The new items that were not in the per unit included the 42-inch RCP and then the 6x6 junction box and then the removal of the existing box, which actually undercuts the sidewalk there at Windsor. So this solves a problem that is very obvious, to not only our infrastructure, but perhaps even the Windsor. If you have any answering questions.
There is no additional mobilization or anything.
Correct.
We're all set.
Yes, sir. And that's the other advantage. You're not having anybody pay. You're not having to pay for mobilization.
Okay. Then I went down there. I'm sorry, I couldn't go to the D.
Sure.
Before I went down there, but there was a very vast void underneath the sidewalk that I could see. Is that going to get filled in? What was that? And is that going to get filled in with this 100 or
Flowable fill primarily. I think they're gonna do base up to a certain level and then flowable fill to the top.
That's where the 42 is.
Yeah, they're basically gonna use the same hole. I think the one thing that one of the contractors said is that he didn't wanna leave all that stacked stone down there. They felt like they would have a problem really getting good compaction, so, I mean, it's not just pushing it in and putting stuff on top of it. I think they're gonna actually remove a lot of that stuff. We did offer to haul off any of those spoils as some sort of cost savings, but I don't believe they're gonna use us, but, for whatever reason.
Any other questions? Thank you, Finley.
Thank you.
Next item up, number 5, discussion regarding interlocal agreement between the city of Lampasas and the Hill Country Transit District for services in Lampasas.
Mayor and Council, I hope this is the last time I stand up tonight, but did want to talk a little bit about the recent meetings we had with Hill Country Transit. We did give a presentation by Mr. Austin on the 23rd of September. Since that time, I think the big elephant in the room was the county choosing not to fund a portion of that original requested subsidy of $70,000. So the questions we had in that follow-up meeting on October 22nd was, what does that service look like? I think Tony talked a little bit about the changes in the service, which actually are, I don't know why they didn't do that before. It seems to make the most sense. Under the model they were using, in a curb-to-curb model, that trip could have been 3 hours one place and then 4 hours the next, and all that time that particular mode of transportation or service is put out of use because, 1 or 2 people may be using it. So the service they described as a reminder is a micro, which is kind of point to point in the city, as well as a commuter, which is attached, which would provide kind of an ongoing service back and forth to Bell County. I think there's some other statistics that Mr. Austin also included that are included in your packet. They talked a little bit about the number of rides in the service. The city's share in 2023 was 83% of all rides in the county, and year-to-date for 2024, it was 76% of all rides. When we talk about people not being able to access the service because it is being used for another person, they also recorded denials, which is, no, we don't have a bus, we don't have a vehicle for you to go from one place to the other because another person is using it. There were 292 denials in 2023, 159 year-to-date in 2024. On, I believe it's on page 35, you have the service parameters. That's actually an exhibit to the interlocal agreement, which would be 3 drivers, 3 vehicles for Lampasas if we chose to participate. 2 of those would be micro, 1 of those would be commuter. And with that, I know that Raymond Suarez is here if you have any questions for Raymond, as well as we also have somebody in the audience that might provide you testimony in terms of the importance of the service as well, Mayor.
Could we have her come available to speak?
Hi, my name is Tamara Casey. I'm not sure what to say if y'all have any questions.
Tell us what the Hill Country Transportation System means to you.
Well, it means a lot because, I currently don't own a car, and I take care of my elderly mom, and it's a way to get her to the store and to her appointments, and it's just, we've been using it for about 10 years.
And how often do you use it? Once a week?
Oh, probably about 3 times a week.
3 times a week?
Yeah.
Are you in the city, ma'am, or are you in the county?
I'm in the city.
Okay. Thank you.
And what, if this went away, what would you do?
Have to ask people for rides.
Okay.
So it's a pretty valuable service.
Yes, sir. Yes, definitely.
Anybody else have any questions?
Would it make it more convenient too if it's like this micro transit that they're talking about, like 2 vehicles that get you around town than just one commuter going back and forth? Do you think that'd be a better system?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Do you use the transit to go out anywhere outside Lampasas to Cove or Bell County or anything?
I have used it in the past to go to a doctor, medical appointments.
Outside of Lampasas?
Yes.
And how would you, on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate the service of the hop? Because this is something we don't know.
Oh, right. I would rate it a 10. I've never had any problems with it.
Okay, that's important.
Oh, yeah. It's easy to get rides, and all the people who work there are always accommodating.
That's awesome. Okay. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you coming up and talking to us.
Thank you.
Anything for Ms. Suarez?
I think you guys good, if Ray can come up? I think we're good.
You do have a corresponding action item on this
Yes.
regular agenda.
Thank you. Number 6, discussion regarding Lampasas County Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center biannual report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, Ms. Unger will present her biannual report to you. I have gone through the information and vetted the information she's asking for. One thing that we did discuss that we want to kind of present to you, instead of providing the receipts each time, we want to go ahead and provide a ledger, which would be a little easier and not as much information in the packet, and it might be a little easier, because I'll still go through it and still vet everything, but I think the presentation will be better for you. But she will present it, she'll go through it with you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I presented that to Becky because after 6 years of doing these, actually 4 times a year at some points in time, it's a lot of trees. So I just think a ledger, the way that I presented my budget in July, is a lot more feasible for y'all. So you can look over that and discuss it, and we'll maybe present a couple of options for you guys to see what works best moving forward. So after reviewing the information, does anybody have any questions in regards to the last 6 months report? Okay, well, if there are no questions, then I will sit back down and we'll visit at general session.
Okay,
Thank you.
Discussion regarding any items on the regular agenda. And there is none, so we will at this time, we'll adjourn workshop, and I think that was the quickest we've got through any of these workshops in a long time. And unless anybody else needs a break, you guys need a break?
Motion to adjourn.
Workshop session. All right. Second. At this time, we'll call the regular session to order. All rise.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful to be here tonight in such a great place and great community. We thank you for the ability to come, to take care of some issues for our community, make good decisions, and hopefully it's a betterment for all your people, which is your desire. We're grateful for our beautiful Lampasas, we're grateful for our people, and we just ask that you be with us so great decisions can be made tonight for everybody. As always, we ask that you watch over us in safety, forgive us for our sins, and be with us so we can all meet again. In Jesus' name, amen.
Join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
I have a couple of recognitions here. First one, excuse me, will be National First Responders Day, October the 28th, 2024. And in recognition of National First Responders Day, whereas the safety and well-being of the citizens of Lampasas are the utmost importance to the prosperity and livelihood of our community. And whereas first responders, including police officers, firefighters, emergencies, medical technicians, paramedics, and other emergency personnel courageously and selfishly serve our community, often putting their own lives at risk to protect and save others. And whereas these dedicated individuals are the first to respond to emergencies and natural disasters and other critical situations, providing the essential services and support to those in need. And whereas the National First Responders Day is observed annually, October 28th, to honor and recognize the invaluable contributions and sacrifice made by the first responders across the nation. And whereas it is fitting and proper to acknowledge and celebrate the bravery and dedication, commitment of our local first responders who work tirelessly to ensure the safety and security of our community. Now, therefore, I, Herb Pierce, Mayor of Lampasas, Texas, do hereby proclaim October 28, 2024 as the National First Responders Day in the city of Lampasas. I encourage all citizens to join in expressing our deepest gratitude and appreciation for these extraordinary service and sacrifices made by our first responder. In witness thereof, I set my hand to the seal of the city of Lampasas to be affixed on this 28th day, October 2024.
And we have Nanette Starkey, Captain of Hamilton EMS, Police Chief Jody Combs, Lampasas CD, and Lampasas Fire Chief Joe Adams in the audience. I'd like to bring you all up to take a picture and recognition.
Stand off to the side. We'll stand right behind his head.
I have to turn sideways. I blinked all 3 times.
Like, do another one.
I'll share it.
All right. Thank you all.
We have a resolution in recognition of Multiple Courts Week, November 4th through the 8th, 2024. A resolution recognizing the importance of multiple court, the municipal court, the rule of law, and the fair and impartial administration of justice. Whereas the municipal court plays a significant role in preserving the public safety and promoting the quality of life in Texas. Whereas more people come in contact with the municipal court than all other Texas courts combined, and public expression of the Texas judicial system is largely dependent upon the public's experience in municipal court. Whereas the city of Lampasas is committed to the notion that our legal system is based on the principle that is independent, fair, competent judiciary will interpret and apply the laws that govern us, and that judges and court personnel should comply with the law and act in a manner that promotes public confidence in the integrity and the impartial of the judiciary. Whereas multiple judges are bound by the law and the canons of judicial conduct and are required to make the decisions independent of governing body of the city council, city officials, and employees. Now therefore be it resolved of the City Council of the City of Lampasas, Texas, that the week of November 4th through the 8th, 2024, is hereby recognized as Municipal Court Week in recognition of the fair and impartial justice offered to our citizens by the Municipal Court of Lampasas, passed and approved on this 28th day of October 2024. Citizens comment. Any citizens who desires to address the city council on a matter not included on the agenda may do so at this time. And there is none. Citizens comment. Any citizen who desires to address the city council on a matter that is included on the agenda. And there is none. 2.1, discussion and possible actions regarding the approval of minutes of the regular meeting held on October 14th, 2024.
I didn't see any corrections, recommend approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda, discussion and possible action regarding September 2024 investment report.
I move to accept the consent agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Board and department reports. And there is none. Routine matters, city manager's operational report.
Just briefly, Mayor and Council, Joe reports that they are preparing for a visit from the Texas Commission on Fire Protection. At the end of this month, this will be their once every 2-year inspection for their compliance. They have dusted off their documentation and required records, and Joe indicates, Chief Adams indicates the department is prepared. Library, just a good turnout for Barbecue for Books. In fact, their biggest ever. They served over 1,096 meals and made 713 deliveries. City Hall roof, we did notice in early September a leak in the southeast portion of City Hall. We did contact Clark Roofing, who's familiar with our facilities, to take a look. They did inspect it and found that it was probably a result of hail damage on the Veterans Day, and I believe it's 2022, right? Sometimes I get the years mixed up; they're all running together. But we also have had representatives from the Intergovernmental Risk Pool out to take a look. It's certainly in the adjuster's hands. The initial estimate is about $151,000 on the City Hall roof, so we'll wait and see how that plays out. Water disruption, I think the high marks to our staff. We've had certainly some stressful situations over the last several years related to water in terms of conserving and making sure we could hold on until certain repairs are made. Yvonne and I talked this morning. I think the last time that our town was pretty much completely out of water, which basically we were this time, was probably Winter Storm Uri. And I think our staff responded well. I think they understand their roles very well in terms of service and accountability to our residents. They are our customers. They do sign our checks. So I think that's something that, as council, you should be proud of. And we're certainly hopeful that the current situation in terms of the secondary leak can be resolved here shortly without too much disruption. Hostess House, my apologies, I did not follow up to the extent that I had anticipated. And I did talk with Kimberly a couple of times, had a few questions. I said I'd like to spend a good half hour, 45 minutes with you to go over all of these RFIs, particularly the ones Mr. Hernandez asked about. The status, we currently are still at slightly less than half of our contingency amount. However, it's probably worthy of maybe having Kimberly here in the future to kind of give you a rundown, as well as me doing a little bit better job of follow-up, which I think Kimberly, I tried to get a hold of her today. She had to take her father to the hospital, but we do plan to talk tomorrow, and we'll get you a more comprehensive report at a future date. And then water, this kind of gives you an insight in terms of other things that we deal with other than just the water contract and things. We did have a concern regarding a clay valve that Kenton was going to install at our delivery point. What the clay valve does, a clay valve is a valve that operates under pressure, a pressure differential that opens and closes. And they wanted to use that basically as a check valve so they wouldn't get backflow from water that's come through our meter and then water going back through the meter the opposite direction, which, by the way, is the way the system's designed. The meter reads both ways. But with our injection site, then they, sometimes they get a slug of water that's probably a higher residual level, which over the past several months would have been a blessing to them. But anyway, in theory, I think it makes sense. Once it passes the meter, we want to be able to stop it. For example, if they have a main break, we want that check valve to stop the water from backing up into their system as well. But there's a better way. We felt like the clay valve would limit head pressure on our side and not allow us to fill Georgetown tank, but maybe halfway. Halfway was where our tank was when we went into this last issue. We did get with them. They were pretty insistent. We did get both the engineers together, and they determined that, yes, that was a problem. It would limit our ability to fill a Georgetown tank if that was installed, which we're glad. And we're glad we have expertise on our side. I'm glad that Kempner relied on the expertise on their side once those two engineers got together. I did take the opportunity as well to talk to Jason about getting back to us at a future council meeting to discuss Ajinola Foods North America, progress on the alternative water and supplemental water source in that study, as well as kind of our next big step in the water plant, which is the injection site improvements. It may be a situation where you want to take maybe you want to have a special time where you have that meeting just to talk about those items. I think they're perhaps lengthy and important enough that you might want to spend time on it. That's all I had to report. Be glad to answer any questions.
Can we do that in short order, because I'm in the Thanksgiving and the holidays coming? Can we get with Jason in the next
Absolutely. Absolutely. And while I'm on the subject of water, does council have a sense of when they would want to visit? We did this, how long ago was this? 3 or 4 years ago. We actually went from, because we don't have the perspectives a lot of times from, where the water is in the pool, how it gets treated, where it goes from there, 195 pump station. We were actually at 195 pump station, and a clay valve blew there. And all of a sudden we were, in 6 inches of water around that pump station. So it's pretty good perspective, I think, from council. So
is that what it was? That this was running through the clay valve?
yeah. So maybe give that some thought, and if there is maybe a day of the week that we spend an afternoon to run out to Central Texas Lake Cliff plant and just backtrack the path of the water into town, we can do that as well. But I'll get a hold of Jason tomorrow and ask him when his availability is.
I think we can shoot for our first meeting in November.
I'll certainly request that.
Appreciate it.
First, that's kind of the schedule for Veterans Day, but it's not going to be on
12th,
right? Tuesday.
Yeah,
It'll be on Tuesday.
It'll be on Tuesday.
it'll be the 12th, and I tell you what, we can try to scale down the other agenda items on the workshop and kind of maybe make that an exclusive item.
That'd be great.
And if I may, and I'm sure I'm speaking for the council, but the times that I interact with you and your staff, and I'm not going to start naming staff and say you, please convey to your staff, everybody that was involved with the water situation the other day, the repairs, the getting foods and all of that stuff. Very heartfelt thank you to them for all that they did and the hours that they spent extra getting this situation resolved. Even though it wasn't our situation, but we were obviously we got punished for it. But please convey to your staff.
Certainly, and we, all of our staff has a high degree of accountability. To our customers, like I said, they sign our checks. If we ever forget that, then, you know, we're missing the big picture. So we appreciate the kind words, and I'll pass it on.
I just had a few comments, Mayor's comments, and I think a lot of it was already said through Finley and Miles. But I wanted to thank our Lampasas staff, our water, Finley, going out on the site of the distress pipe and seeing you there. I know that's not your job description. I know you don't have to be there. But I wanted to convey to the citizens how deeply committed that our staff here at City Hall is committed to making sure that these water problems get resolved. And it's something that's been amazing to me that I don't think that there's a person on the staff or that works for the city or that's on this council that would take our problems lightly. I know the economic impact that it made just in that one day of shutting down businesses and also schools were hundreds of thousands of dollars that it cost the city of Lampasas. It is not something that we want to have happen. And I think this council, I think we want to keep our water board, we want them to do the job and provide the service that we are under contract for. And I think all city council would agree with me that we want Kentner Water to step up to the plate and continues to provide the services that we've paid for, that our citizens have paid for. And but anyway, I thank our staff and appreciate all the hard work and I mean nights on end that go into this thing.
You know, can I add to that too, Mayor?
Yes.
You know, one thing is, I think it's not to forget that, you know, we're all citizens of this town too, and are dealing with the same problems. And it's frustrating. I mean, you know, all of our friends and neighbors come to us about, what are you doing to fix the problem? What are you doing to fix the problem? We're going through the same thing. And it's not something that changes overnight. It's not something that you can just snap your fingers and it's done. You know, in this contract with Kentner Water Supply, doesn't seem like they're always holding up to their end of the deal. We're trying to push that and exercising every avenue we can. You know, going with Jason Jones to look at these alternative options. Again, it's not something that changes overnight, but the 5-year, 10-year plan of keeping this community strong and thriving, that's what we're trying to do. But we're all feeling it at home too. I mean, and it's not, it just stinks. I mean, it stinks. Not just the water, the situation, but, you know, we're working on it, and like everyone up here said, don't take it lightly.
You know, and the old saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I don't think that that's what this council's doing. I think that right now, as of a year and a half, couple of years ago, we've got a plan moving forward. We've done some studies. We're doing some exploratory work. We're planning on getting this thing solved no matter what it takes.
You know, it may not be one of those completely alternative situations where we don't use the water source we already have, but more redundancy, backup plans.
Exactly. Complement what we have, and if we have to, bypass
Exactly. But again, like, I mean, on the low end, that's probably 5 years, right?
All right, anybody else have anything to tag along on that? All right.
Kelly, did you say something? No.
We'll go to 7.1, discussion and possible action regarding the award of contract for utility line tree trimming to LCRA and McCoy's tree surgery in the amount of not to exceed $186,000.
Mayor and council, for your consideration is the contract with LCRA and McCoy Tree Surgery for approximately 8 weeks of service to trim trees out of our lines. This is an item that is a big number, but we consider this each year, and I think we also make sure that the CIP committee is aware of it. It's ingrained in their report. They have, in fact, I think they put this in their narrative as well in terms of the importance of this program. The example that I like to share is particularly those folks on our CIP committee that have been residents here for 20, 30, 40 years, and they recall what it was like when we had a power outage previously and the amount of time that it would take to get the power back on. We have certainly seen our share of windstorms, lightning, wind, etc. But many times, if you took a look at our average outages, they're typically less than an hour, and a lot of times less than that. So this is an annual expenditure. Wayne could not be here this evening. This is a cooperative purchasing agreement. It has been bid out. We have been pleased with the service and communication from McCoy. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I move to award the bid to McCoy Tree Surgery and LCRA to trim the trees out of the power lines in the amount not to exceed $186,000 and to allow the city manager to execute any required documents.
Second. Ben, it's pretty much the same number as it is every year. How much has it gone up?
It's been about the same.
And a lot of it's preventative, like you're saying.
So do you remember, was it last year, year before, when Austin was shut down for several weeks because they had trees in the lines, et cetera? And it's a little apples and oranges. They got hit by that ice storm a little bit more than we did, but at the same time, they have been, they've had a lot of kickback from the tree trimming program in Austin. But it certainly prevents a situation like they went through. And like I said, it's one of the better things we do. They can come in and they literally focus on that. They're not called out to do disconnects. They're not called out to fix transformers. All they do is trim trees. They typically will get around town every 4 to 5 years. So if you think about how much a tree could grow in 5 years, particularly if we have some wet weather. Like I said, I think it's been very positive for the city and has probably resulted in fewer outages, shorter outages, and some savings from the call-outs.
And I know there's a lot of monetary requests coming up tonight, but this is budgeted.
Correct. Correct, and I think, like you said, I think there's an ROI on it.
Yeah, it's definitely saved us money in the long run.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and possible action regarding the approval and acceptance of the Lampasas County Chamber of Commerce and Business Center biannual report, third and fourth quarter.
Not sure if we've had any questions developed since I was up here earlier in workshop, but if you have, now is the time.
You did such a good job the first time.
Make a motion to accept the Lampasas County Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center biannual report as presented.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
I'm gonna make a shameless plug for Hunters Welcome on Friday, so y'all come out to HEB 9:30 to 3, we'll be out there serving all of our wonderful citizens and then anybody that comes through.
Looks like you got a pretty hefty task to beat the library.
I know, right?
I mean,
I set the bar and everybody just rises to it. That's all I can say.
7.3, discussion and possible action to award wayfinding signs contract to Zone Builders Incorporated, doing business as Southwest Monument Signs, in an amount not to exceed $133,740.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This has been a little over a year in the making, but I'm excited to present this final to you this evening, hopefully. At the January 22nd meeting, we did provide you with some bid packages, and they were kind of broken up into overall phases. We had the gateway signage, the secondary signage, and the wayfinding signage and the text out mass. At that time, we were estimating to be about $170 for the entire project, and they came in way over what we anticipated for various reasons, whether it was material, labor costs, mobilization, etc. So at that time, I asked you if we could go back and kind of revisit and kind of change our scope of the project. So at that time, we went back and we went ahead and revised it to where it was just going to be the 22 wayfinding signage. So that's what I'm asking for you this evening. We did get 3 bids that came in. We had one from 2D Signs, which was incomplete. They were only going to create the signs, not install them. We had the Zone Builders, which doing business as Southwest, and then SSC Signs and Lighting. So you can see that based on, I'll take you over to page 145, kind of shows you a short synopsis, that it shows you that SSC Signs came in at $290, and they're out of Louisville, so I think a lot of that came back from the mobilization, and then they're charging the difference in the sizes of the signs, which I believe are from contracted prices versus what they can do in-house. And then with the Southwest Monument signs, they totaled him at $139,900. They did provide a value engineer prospect for me to where the back of the signs would only be a solid color, and I was accepted to that, which will bring it back down to the $133, which is why the difference in what I'm asking for this. As far as the detail, it kind of breaks it down for you on page 147 and then 48 at all the line items as far as what we're doing with the actual signage itself. And the breakdown, like I said, a majority of it is going to be mobilization and just different costs per item. You'll also see them on page 150. It'll show you our fund balance right now, which comes out of the hot funds. This specifically is not a budgeted item per se, but the wayfinding project has been discussed to come out of the hot funds since we started this project. So this is new as far as the budgeted amount, or the amount to be coming out of hot funds, but the amount is covered under what we have, which will still leave us with a little under the $200,000, which was what council had directed us to keep our fund balance at for Fund 40. Yes, if you look at page 150, when we're picking out what has been for the hostess house and with the $133,740, that'll leave us with $195,573. So we're a little out, but this is as of September. This does not include anything that'll still come in for income for this line item.
Where was it budgeted before that we decided to look from hot funds?
So no, it's always, wayfinding signage has always been penciled in from coming from the hot fund. We just only budgeted the $60,000 up front, and that was for the firm to put together the sign project for us. And now we've actually got a firm to actually do the installation for us and create the signs that we came up with.
And how long are the signs guaranteed for? Because I know like signs like, that city signs put around town, about 5 years, they start like decomposing and turning brown. Like, do we have any kind of guarantee on the length of?
I did not ask that, but I can definitely find out for you for the longevity of the signs, how long they'll last. But from my understanding, it's gonna be long-term because of the way that the material is gonna be made out of. But I will verify the time.
Couple other questions here. If we go ahead and approve this tonight, how long will it be before they begin starting on this project?
There's actually made room in their schedule. It just happened to work out to where they're able to mobilize as soon as we give them the green light. Now, as far as the time it takes them for the project, I haven't confirmed that yet because we haven't had our initial meeting yet of when they can mobilize and how long the project will take, but they are ready to move forward.
Okay, so we could probably expect 3 to 5 months, something like that, hopefully.
I hope sooner.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm ready to see it.
I guess the next question, is part of this and economic development. I mean, I kind of see city and economic development along with that. Is there any participation funding wise there?
I have not approached the EDC board for any, cost sharing or anything like this. This is strictly for the city as far as our wayfinding on Key Avenue. It is for downtown revitalization to get people downtown. Of course, it's gonna help hopefully get people shopping and down the retail spots and other entities around town. But no, I have not approached them as for any means of this. This is all something we discussed
And I
last
don't
couple of
want
years.
to
so yeah, about
hold
this.
this up because I think it's vitally important, but I also see it a major part of the EDC group too. So I don't know, just lay it there on the table.
And then, do you have a final, like, do they have mock-ups of these signs, like all the different ones? I know I've seen some of them, but.
Exactly what was presented, nothing has changed.
Nothing changed?
Exactly, no, sir.
So
The design is still the same.
how many signs is it that we're getting for 133?
22. And that's for on Key and it's for downtown as well.
So with TechStop being involved with this, is there, I know this is kind of included, but on the side, is there any way that we could get a larger sign on the exterior of town that says trucks must use 190 or the loop instead of coming down 4th Street?
I will definitely look at that because that is something that's been cut quite often as far as the signage. We do have one that I
Well, that's
think
what
some
I
of
hear
the
about the
trees.
shoebox.
Mhm.
You can't even see it.
Exactly. So I will definitely approach that and see the size if we can improve those or we work on this as well.
Same as the one by the, second.
Yes.
And the other fourth is super small.
Yeah.
If you're not looking for it, you're gonna miss it.
Absolutely. And we've also talked about trying to get the GIS systems and the Google and all that to show the different direction. So there's various things we've tried to get the truck routes directed where they need to go. But we'll definitely continue to look into it. But I agree with signage, 100%.
Is it something you want to hear if there is any chance of participation from the EDC with cost sharing and the length of the warranty of these signs?
I'd really like to know the length before we make a decision personally.
I'd like to see if the EDC would cover part of this cost sharing thing. I can see that too. Yeah, I don't see why the city needs to pay for all of it.
Right. I will do that for y'all and I'll bring that to you at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So at this time, no action.
Yep.
7.4, discussion and possible action regarding cost share for the ADA sidewalk and alley approach located at 410 East 3rd Street in the amount of $11,450.
Go ahead and make a motion. Yes, sir. I'll make a motion to approve cost sharing amount of $11,450 for ADA sidewalks, alley approach, and street repair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and possible action regarding additional finding related to Second Street project, considering an estimate related to installments of a 42-inch culvert in the amount of $160,770.
Motion to approve repairs to failed drainage infrastructure on Second Street in an amount not to exceed $160,770. Second.
Can I make one, or ask one for one clarification? We're not approving once $160,000, we're approving an additional $60,000 on this, correct?
That is correct. The entire change for the extending of the limits of construction as well as the drainage is, the total amount is $160,000.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and possible action regarding an interlocal agreement between the city of Lampasas and the city Lampasas County and Hill Country Transit District for services Lampasas to include cost share in the amount of $35,000.
I move to approve the interlocal agreement by and between Lampasas County, Hill Country Transit District, and the City of Lampasas for public transportation services, cost share in the amount of $35,000, and authorize the city manager to execute related documents.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and possible action considering a resolution authorizing the submission of the Texas Community Block Grant application to the Texas Department of Agriculture for the Community Development Fund.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As part of the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program application, it is a requirement that the city adopt a resolution authorizing us to submit an application. The maximum award amount is $750,000. The city is committed to 10% match if awarded, which would be $75,000. This is for the 25-26, so we have no idea where that's coming from if we're even getting awarded. We just want to put our name in the hat. So if we get awarded for this type of project, we do have to decide what project it's going to be, which we're still looking into. But this can cover flood drainage improvements, water sewer improvements, street improvements, sidewalks, fire station equipment, and various other things that they will approve us for based on our LMI, which are low median income areas that would qualify for this program. So all we're doing tonight is just a resolution to move forward with the application process.
I make a motion to authorize staff for a resolution to submit the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program 25-26 application to the Texas Department of Agriculture for the Community Development Fund.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
7.8, discussion and possible action to consider appointment to fill vacancy on the CIP Capital Improvement Program.
This is just a follow-up from September. We're still working on getting some appointments for various boards, and we still have a couple more to consider. But this evening, we do have two applications in front of you. You have Janet Crozier and Bob Chapman, who have both applied to fill a vacancy on the CIP, which is a Capital Improvement Program Committee, and they normally meet prior to the budget time. We are doing this to replace the late Chuck Williamson, so his place needs to be covered for the ongoing meeting that we're going to have going forward. So this time, I'll allow you to consider and recommend.
I make an appointment to appoint Bob Chapman to the Capital Improvement Program Committee, the CIP, effective immediately for a term of 3 years.
Second.
I make a motion to appoint Janet Crozier to the Capital.
We have a motion and a second, so we need to go ahead and finish that one out, and then we can do this one or vice versa. But how do we want to do?
The reason that, so for some discussion, the reason that I love Janet and she does a good job, but the reason I would like to appoint Bob is he's a former city engineer up in Compton. There's a lot of information to bring.
I agree. He's been on the CIP committee before and resigned, didn't he? Is that correct?
How long was he on the CIP?
I don't know how long he was on it, but it's several years since he has resigned. I would have to look and see, but it's been a little bit. But I can definitely find that for you.
And I know there's a lot of things that have changed, and he has a lot more time now, because he was also, I'm not sure if that when the resignation happened, how he was very, he got the Salvation Army stuff started here in town.
All right, we've got a first and a second on Bob Chapman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Nay on Mike. So we have 3 nays? 4 nays? Okay.
Move to appoint Janet Crozier to the Capital Improvement Program Committee effective immediately for a term of 3 years.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
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 Would you like to give a speech tonight, Ms. Clover? This time, need a motion to adjourn into executive session.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
The City Council of the City of Lampasas, Texas will meet in closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551 as follows. Chapter 551-074, Personnel Matters to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment duties of City Manager and other personnel matters allowed by the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. And we will adjourn into executive session and reconvene. We'll come back into regular session. Discussion and possible action concerning items posted and discussed in the council in executive session, and I think there was anything coming out of executive session. So I'll need a motion.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Any discussion? All right.
Aye.